I'm Jamie Harding from Et Lorem, and I'm the CEO and founder here. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell. It's funny because I actually did a kitchen for the family about 15 years ago. So, first and foremost, it was super humbling when they got back in touch. I had a call on my mobile out of the blue. Yeah, we're building a new house. Would you like to have a look at the kitchen for us? We'd love to work with you again. I didn't really understand at that point from that initial call, like just how amazing this architecture was. She was trying to describe it, but it's not until we actually physically saw the architect's plans that you go, whoa, this is that mega build. What excited me about them is they're always open to something a bit different, something a little bit more kind of edgy. They're not just looking for, a kitchen that, you know, they're going to walk into and see in a friend's house. They want something a bit different, something a bit more unique. Well, it was the architecture. I mean, it had some pretty phenomenal angles and sort of details and cantilevers. So we needed to make sure that we were kind of working with the architecture. It was something that was really kind of in keeping. So that was kind of maybe the anchoring point that we started with. And when I talk about the angles on the outside of the property, what we tried to do is incorporate some of those, a bit of a nod to the architecture within the kitchen. On the breakfast bar, it had like an angled leg at 30 degrees. And that was as a nod to the architecture outside. So when you're walking up, you could see this 30-degree angle. So you kind of almost, it was like reflective within the kind of interior of the kitchen as it was to the outside of the building, which was super cool as well. But what we also wanted to do, I mean, when you approach this property, I mean, it had the driveway was a quarter of a mile long, had all these beautiful kind of lakes and things as you drive up, and then as you drive up to it, it just seems to come out of the ground at you, like you're greeted by this absolute. I mean, it's a piece of artwork rather than a property. It really is. But what we wanted to do is give that client exactly the same feeling when they walk into the kitchen. So really, it's something really super impactful, something really kind of, something that would just kind of knock people's socks off. And yeah, I'd like to think that we've achieved that. When you stand in the space, just the sheer amount of natural light that comes into the property and the views and everything else, so much glass in there as well. We just felt that we needed to go for something quite impactful and dark. So we always start by kind of understand the client and their styles, their likes, their tastes. Now, it's funny because it was such a long-term project, like a 2-year build. Obviously, there's a lot of planning that goes into it before they even put a spade in the ground. So when the client first came to me, the previous kitchen I did for them was quite contemporary. She said, Jamie, I kind of fancy doing something maybe a little bit different, maybe a little bit more traditional. So when she came to me, it was very much like Shakers, with some really nice kind of modern detailing in there. These were the sort of pictures that she was showing me. But when we really kind of took that deep dive on the architecture, we kind of challenged each other, and it was really good. And what we then realized very quickly is that they wanted something that was going to be truly kind of reflective of the architecture, which was a lot more contemporary. So that's where we started, and then it was very much down to the finishes. They like the kind of richness and the warmth of a timber, but they also like some of the sort of flatter finishes, if you like, for want of a better word, and just kind of almost allowing the different kind of design elements to sing their own song rather than going too heavy on materials and colors. So that was the kind of starting point, and then we introduced the Decton Laurent, and they were a big fan of that as well. We framed the oven on that back wall in the Decton Laurent, and that was to try and make it feel like a piece of artwork, like a piece of framed artwork. They're a masterpiece, the Gaggenau ovens, aren't they? So it was really trying to make a feature of those. We always look at a space these days, these sort of open living spaces, and it's very much that kind of cook, live, and eat section. And how we zone that, it kind of came together quite quickly, and especially with the two-way fireplace that we had at the end of the room as well. It was perfect to kind of create this snug area outside of the kitchen, and then you had your dining area, the other side of that two-way fireplace, and it kind of left the rest for this kind of massive spiraling kitchen, if you like. But what we tried to do is zone it so that the refrigeration and very much the wine space was nice and local to the table. So when their friends and family are around, you can kind of sit around the table, grab a glass of wine. It's all very easy to use. And obviously the cooking space, they're using the kind of Bora Professional hobs. That you had the big kind of sliding doors so you could look out over that space. But yeah, I think that was that pretty much sort of captures the journey there. Because it was such a long-term project, I think end users and end consumers, they are absolutely hammered day in, day out by pictures and information, and there's Pinterest and there's Instagram, and you're always going to see something else that you appreciate, right? Just kind of managing the client's evolving thoughts and wants. So obviously when you've got 2 years, you're going to see a lot of other stuff that you really like in that time. So it was really sort of trying to keep on top of that, but also as the architecture evolved, the different stages, we're maybe going in at different stages and maybe seeing another sort of little quirky thing that I'm able to pick up in the architect's plan, such as, the light that's coming in, some of the different viewpoints and things that you can see from different areas in the kitchen. So I think it was just sort of keeping on top of the way that the project and the client's thoughts were evolving over that longer period. I love the frame around the Gaggenau appliances. That is the real focal point of the kitchen between the two big windows on the back wall. So as you're looking in, and certainly from the outside space, I think that just really kind of crowns that area. As I say, just the way that it kind of integrates with the architecture, love that. It works really well. And it just kind of gives it a feeling of flow. The other thing is actually just knowing that we've designed something and it really has an impact on the clients' lives. And I remember shortly after finishing the project, they'd moved in, got a lovely text from the client. She was sitting outside on the patio, and she just took a picture because it had to look great from outside, inside, from all angles. It just had to, and she just sent me this picture of the kitchen, looking at it through the sliding doors, and just telling me how amazing the kitchen was looking at night. Now it was all illuminated. That's the greatest part about the job, I think, when you know come the end of the project, you work with a client, you've held their hand through the process, and they are absolutely thrilled with the end result. That is probably, take everything out of it. That is the feeling I think as a designer you're looking to achieve. So it's always lovely to get that recognition from industry peers, and it's a nice accolade that we're doing great work. It's the credibility to our clients now and future clients that we are a company that they should be working with. But also it's great recognition for the team. There is no way you can fit projects like that and execute projects like that without the entire team coming together. So super proud moment for the entire team. And I suppose really it motivates us further to go on creating designs that inspire really and sort of looking to level up again.